I'm going to bring up Ashes of the Wake and Sacrament. I have to, just because your work is just so
Yeah.
incredible on those albums as well. I mean, genre defining, man. Like, what do you consider yourself your personal favorite recorded performance?
Oh, wow. Well, ooh, that is a tough one. Um, I think probably the most creative. I think like my. Hmm. I mean, things certainly evolved, but I think I was at the peak of my physical ability and um, kind of creative mindset. I don't think the band. I think the cement was still a little bit wet, meaning we could have done anything. I think Ashes of the Wake is probably the greatest example of me um, doing things that were a little bit outside the box. And when I say that, I don't mean that I purposefully tried to challenge anything. It's just when I started playing drums, I didn't start playing drums until I was 21, and I had played guitar before that, and I was really still am more of a guitar freak than a drummer fan. But during those teenage years, for most people, if they're playing an instrument like drums, like you kind of fall in love with like a band or a particular guy, and you start to emulate those kinds of things, and you can see how homogenous like a lot of metal is. Like the drums are very kind of similar in most bands. And I was really into, while I was playing guitar, as far as drummers go, if I were to think about it, I was really into stuff that like Stuart Copeland was doing and Billy Cobham was doing. And so when I got the opportunity to play drums, I didn't take any lessons, so it took a long time for me to figure out how the hell to do this. But those were the influences that I had. In fact, like first songs I ever learned how to play were some Aerosmith stuff, and then I moved into Police stuff. And then when I got in this metal band, those were like the things that I knew how to do, and I just kind of sped them up. So there was this, it was a, I think looking back on it, I think when somebody hears it, it's slightly unique to the genre in that it's not the same, you know, taka 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 taka. There's some really different kinds of things in there. And again, it wasn't on purpose. That was just kind of what was influencing me at the time. And I think I had the dexterity and creative mind probably flowing best right when we did Ashes of the Way.
Agreed. And you did name some people there like Stuart Copeland, who you wouldn't think, just in the broad scheme of metal would be, an influence. But I mean, he's a
Right.
very great technical player, which you have a very, very wonderful technical side to your playing as well. Give me three drummers who made you pick up those sticks. Who were they?
Oh, wow. Um, well, Stuart, for sure. Stuart, again, Billy Cobham. I had an album, the Mahavishnu Orchestra, with him on it, and it blew me away. I think I saw him in a clinic where he came out and the drum kit wasn't what he had ordered or whatever, and he just like threw parts of it in the air and then just started like rocking, and it was unbelievable. It's hard. Wow. As far as metal goes, I don't think there's anybody better than Gene Hoglan. Yeah, one of the best ever. And it's interesting that you asked the question, and it's interesting my previous answer, because when I went and spoke with Gene, he was actually asking me like, how are you coming up with some of that weird stuff? And I was like, me, like, how are you coming up with some of that weird stuff? And I told him the same story. I told him the same story that I told you. I was like, well, I was listening to the Police and kind of really stuff outside of metal for influence. And he's like, well, that's crazy, man. He's like, when I started playing drums, I took lessons and learned how to play funk. And he's like, then I got it super into metal, and so I took all that funk stuff and just sped it up. And so it's kind of like the same story. Like when you're not like blinders on, this is what metal is. When you bring in these different influences, it helps you. And I wasn't purposely doing it to stand out, but I think it did help me stand out a little bit at the time. And he had the same experience.
Loaded Radio.